Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am writing a book and it's not going well. Today's video is going to be all about the book that I'm writing, or books that I am writing. I have spoken about this a little bit here and there in different vlogs, and I used to talk about it a little bit more over on my TikTok channel, but I've never made a dedicated sit-down video where I am telling you everything about the book that I'm writing. And that's probably because it's not going very well. I've got so many different resolutions and hopes and wishes and goals about this book, or these books that I'm writing, and I feel constantly quite terrified about how far I am falling from those goals. But one of my New Year's resolutions for the year of 2024 was to, by the end of the year, have at least one person who is not me read the first draft of my book. And we are halfway through October, so we are rapidly approaching the end of the year, and I need some outside intervention. So I feel like being more open about the process of writing this book with all of you here will really help me and keep me motivated and on track by trying to finish this book by the end of the year. But maybe first I'll go into a little bit of background about this book that I'm writing. I had the idea for this book series. It's actually a series. It's a 3-book series currently, and I had the idea for it about 5 years ago and started writing little scraps of it back then. But I was really never consistently sitting down and making a concerted effort to actually finish the book until the year of 2022. And in 2022, for NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month, I decided that I would sit down and I would write 50,000 words of the book in that month. By the time November had come around, I'd already written about 20,000 words of the book, but I really needed to completely kind of overhaul what I'd already written and mainly just get lots of stuff down on the paper. So that's what I did. November went really, really well. I wrote 50,000 words of the book in a month. I was overjoyed by my success, and then I decided to take a break from the book, and then I ended up not looking at it for another year. I would occasionally open the document and look at this book and then just realize how much I wanted to change and how much still needed to be done, and then quickly close the book again. But basically, when it came round to November again in 2023, so almost a year ago, I decided that the best way to push forward with my goal of writing this series is actually to try and write the first 50,000 words of the second book in the series. And once again, that worked really well for me. I work really well when I have a set goal and like 30 days in which to get it done. So I again wrote 50,000 words of the second book in the series, and I was really, really happy with it. And also the way that I was writing the second book gave me so much inspiration for what I needed to do in the first book and what the first book was missing. So then this year, at the beginning of the year, I decided it was time to go back to that first book and really properly restructure it, redraft it, and kind of have it as a finished first draft. So that is what I've been attempting to do. And I have to say, it's not been going that well. I've been having so many different issues with this book. My own personal motivations has come in like peaks and troughs. I've had huge periods of writer's block. I've wanted to completely give up on the entire idea altogether. I've thought of another different book that I could completely write that I really want to write now. But before I go in and tell you all about this book, I want to try and tell you as much as I can about the genre, kind of what it's like, a little bit about the plot and the world, and maybe some of the characters. I kind of want to show you some of my Pinterest boards, like the inspiration, like the kind of way that I envision the book. Before we get into that, I want to talk about one of the things that has actually really helped me with my writer's block. And for that, I have to introduce today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. I am so excited to be working with Skillshare for this video because genuinely they have helped me so much with writer's block. I am a complete amateur when it comes to writing. I've never studied it. I've never taken a course in it. And so when I found Skillshare, I found it so incredibly helpful because they have so many courses on there. So if you don't know about Skillshare, it is the largest online learning platform, and there are thousands of classes that you can take. And there are so many different categories to explore, from photography and art to how to start your own creative business. For me personally, I've been looking into the publishing classes and also writing creatively, and classes like how to turn your hobby of writing into a professional career. And you can take these classes at your own pace, and when you become a member and you share what you're interested in, you can get tailored suggestions. For me, I've been using Skillshare to take a course from an expert every time I feel stuck in the process of writing, and it just helps me really go back to basics and listen to someone who has written multiple novels or who has expertise in the publishing industry. And today, the first 500 people who use the link in my description will get a free 1-month trial to Skillshare, so you can get started today. For me, Skillshare has been incredibly helpful with kickstarting my writing again when I feel in a rut. The other thing that's really been helping me is sharing my writing journey, and it helps keep me accountable, which is why I'm making this video today and why I hope for the rest of the year I'll also be doing a little bit more regular updates on my book and how it's going. But I feel like I need to tell you a little bit actually about this book or this book series. So this book is a fantasy. It's a fantasy adventure book, and it is a young adult, but like I would say slightly older young adult, like more new adult, if that still exists as a category. And like I said, I think it's going to be a 3-book series. The name I am going back and forth on constantly. The first book, in my head, I'm currently calling it Swordhaven. That is likely to change. It changes almost every single month. I am already like just retaking so many times of me trying to describe the plot of these books to the camera. Like, it is so incredibly difficult to make it sound how it sounds in my head. Anyway, I'll try. Basically, in these books, you are following 2 sisters, and they live in a world where gods and goddesses live among us. There are these divine 7 beings. Each of them rule over their own realm. These 2 sisters have grown up living within this very devout, religious community that is very calm and very idyllic. One of the sisters actually has the ability to kind of weave the magic in this world, and one of them does not. And that is the sister who we're actually following in these books. So she's grown up always knowing that her duty is basically to protect her sister, who is incredibly special, but she herself has never felt like she fits in anywhere. And basically at the very beginning of the first book, a tragedy strikes and the 2 sisters have to flee their home and basically go out into the big open world by themselves, and then they get taken in by the god and goddess of a neighboring realm. And most of the first book takes place within the palace of these gods. There's a lot of courtly intrigue. There is a mysterious prince who's also visiting the palace. There is many deep dark secrets to uncover about their home and about the divine beings in this world. There's a lot of sisterly love, but also tension. There's complicated family dynamics, but mainly you are following Ava, who is the non-magical sister, and she has 2 completely conflicting wants, and one is that she wants to be free and be alone and strike out on her own and discover who she is, and the other is that she truly wants to be accepted and known and loved for who she is. She's an incredibly grumpy character. She's mean. She does not care about anyone or anything other than her sister. Each book in the series has a different setting in a different kingdom. So now I've told you a little bit about the plot and the characters, I kind of want to give you more of a vibe about the world and like the magic, because basically the inspiration for a lot of this book and a lot of the characters and the plot and like how it came to me comes from the tarot. So these are tarot cards. If you are not familiar with tarot cards, I'll show you them. I've always been quite obsessed with tarot cards. I've actually only ever had my tarot cards read, like I had a reading once, but after that reading I was so into it that my friends bought me my very own tarot card deck. So in the tarot card deck there are major arcana and minor arcana. Major arcana are cards such as the Devil, the Hanged Man, I'm getting some real stonkers pulling them out randomly, the Star, Death. I don't know how this pull's going for me, to be honest. We have the Chariot. Basically, the major arcana are the really recognizable cards that you probably know, like the Lovers as well. And there is a certain way that you can read the major arcana in a tarot card deck. You obviously have lots of them that can be characters or themes within your life, and they represent certain things, but they are also numbered. So for example, Justice is number 11. Of course, that just took me so long to find. But the first card of the major arcana is the Fool, which starts at 0. And basically a way that you can read the kind of a story within the tarot is that you start off as the Fool character, who is not really a fool, but just someone who is very naive and beginning their journey, as you can see from this card. They don't yet know anything. They are on the precipice. They are about to kind of have their journey and their adventure. And that to me is our two sisters in this story. And basically the way that you can read the story of the tarot is you go through, and the Fool character then meets all of the other different major arcana in the story. So for example, the Divine Seven that I was talking about, the gods and goddesses that exist within the world I'm creating, are represented by different cards. So we have the first two in my story are the Magician, who is card number 1, and then the High Priestess, who's card number 2. And these are actually the main sisters' adoptive parents in this story. These are the gods and goddesses that they grow up with. But actually, for the majority of the book, our main characters are not at home, and they are in a different kingdom, like I said, in this palace, and they are represented by the Empress and the Emperor card, who's number 3 and number 4. And basically, as the Fool goes through the story of the tarot, they meet different people and learn different things. As you go through, also the cards kind of increase in complexity and in the lesson learned. So things that can mean, you know, strength, or romantic relationships, sacrifice, temperance. And basically the whole idea is that by the end you have completed your journey and you've learnt all of the lessons that you can, and you have a sense of wholesome fulfillment. And the final card is usually represented by the World, which is kind of that representation of everything kind of coming together, which is hopefully where we get to at the end of this story. So I have always loved tarot cards as a way of reflecting on your life. I often do readings for my friends and my family, and also for myself. It's such a good tool to do a reading, pull out a few different cards, know what the cards are representing, but then also really trying to analyze how that is represented in your life currently. It can really give you so much clarity on the things that you're really worried about, because that's the interpretation that you're then putting onto the cards. So you can then use the cards as a way of like untangling your own problems and your complicated feelings around a topic or a question. So that's the way that I've always used tarot cards, and the way that I love to incorporate them into my life. But I also just love this symbolism of the story of the tarot that you can kind of see as you dig deeper into these major arcana cards. This is one of the reasons why the first book was called at some point The Fool's Journey, because that was the journey that the main characters are going through as they're going through the story of the major arcana. So that kind of, I hope, gives you some background on the world, the kind of magic that's in play. There's a lot of ancient magic, there's a lot of nature-based magic. It's not a hard and fast magical system. Like, I have not got like lots of very complicated rules in the book about magic. It's very much a soft magic system, mainly because I have no idea how to write a hard and fast magic system, to be honest. But also in the world of the book, magic is very much limited only to the Divine Seven, except for the one exception, that is the main character's sister. So I don't really know what else to tell you about this book and about how it's going. Currently it's sitting at around 70,000 words. At the moment I'm writing about 4 days in the week, and a lot of it is deleting and restructuring. Again, in November, I'm going to be doing so much more of a focus again, because it's just my writing month. Every November, I suddenly get loads of motivation to write a lot. So November, I'm going to be writing every single day, and I'm going to set myself some real hard and fast goals. And then hopefully by the end of December, I'm going to have a proper first draft. I've had a first draft now, like I've explained, for about 2 years, but it's just, to me, it seems more like a draft 0 than a first draft. Like, draft 0 to me just comes before that first draft, where I know that I wouldn't be happy with the way that it's reading, the way it's structured. I know that there's things I need to take out, many scenes I need to add, things that I want to explain that I haven't fully explained yet, character arcs that I want to introduce. So currently I'm working on my draft 0, and then by the end of the year I want to get it to a good first draft. So wish me luck. I hope someone found this even a little bit interesting. It feels very vulnerable to me to talk about this book, especially talking about it in any kind of detail where I'm actually telling you about what the world is, because it's just been mine for so long, and it's like very scary to kind of talk about it out in the world. But I'm hoping this vulnerability is going to help me, and that maybe you can help encourage me to actually get this book finished. If this book sounds remotely interesting to you, then please leave a comment. If it doesn't, don't leave a comment. This is one time where I'm not going to ask you for negative comments. I'm far too vulnerable to hear any criticism about this idea. I would also love to know, if you're writing anything, how you kind of get over the self-doubt of it all, because that is something that I am struggling with a lot at the moment. I think because I'm such a reader and I find it obviously so easy to read and get lost in other people's worlds, that when it comes time to creating my own, I'm like, how am I ever going to be as good as the books that I love? But that is not a reason to not do it, so I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep writing, and hopefully I'm going to keep getting better. But thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring. Make sure you are subscribed if you're not already, and I will be updating, hopefully if anyone finds this interesting, I will be updating you a little bit more on my writing process, maybe doing some writing vlogs, or doing a Q&A. I don't know. If you do have any questions, always leave them below. I've actually never done a Q&A on this channel, and now it's over a year that I've been posting. I feel like it's maybe time to do a Q&A about other things in my life. Let me know if you find that interesting. Also, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to. I've never shouted out my Instagram before, but it is linked in the description if you want to follow me there. I do post quite often on my stories, and especially in November I'll be doing a lot more about writing. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!